A dog with tiny puppies is tied to a tree in the woods by a band of merciless poachers. As the shadows of the night start creeping, the howls of a pack of wolves shatter the silence, and the dog finds herself in grave danger. Then a hunter's shot rings out, and the tables are instantly turned. Bella was tied to a tree in the middle of the dense forest, her 4 tiny puppies huddled close to her, whimpering softly. The sun was setting, and the first chill of night was setting in. Suddenly, the distant, haunting howls of wolves echoed in the silence. They grew louder with each passing second. Bella's heart raced as she strained against the rope, her instinct to protect her babies overpowering her fear. Jacob was a seasoned hunter, well respected in the nearby village for his skills and protective nature. He had grown up in these woods and knew every inch of the terrain. He lived a solitary life with a companion named Zoltan, a loyal and brave German shepherd who had been by his side for years. They had braved many dangers together, but little did they know they were about to embark on a new, shocking adventure. Late that afternoon, as Jacob sat by the fire in his cabin, he heard the distant, unsettling howls of wolves. It was unusual to hear them so close. His instincts told him that something was amiss. Jacob grabbed his rifle and whistled for Zoltan, then stepped out into the cool, crisp air, ready to investigate. Jacob moved silently. His years of experience made him one with the wilderness. Zoltan trotted beside him, equally focused. Suddenly, the eerie howls of wolves echoed through the trees again. Jacob paused and listened intently. Zoltan's ears perked up, and he let out a low growl. Jacob adjusted his grip on his rifle and began moving toward the sound, his dog following closely. The howls continued and grew more frantic with each passing moment. Back at the tree, Bella's fear turned into a fierce determination. She positioned herself between her puppies and the direction of the howls. She bared her teeth and growled low in her throat, her body coiled and ready to spring into action. Her puppies sensed their mother's protective stance and stayed close. Bella knew she would lose against a pack of wild, hungry wolves, but she also knew that she wouldn't go down without a fight. She would give her everything despite the rope. As Jacob and Zoltan moved closer, the sounds became clearer. Jacob's pace quickened, his keen eyes catching movement ahead. He slowed his pace and signaled Zoltan to stay alert. They crept forward, each step measured and silent. As they neared the source of the howls, Jacob's heart sank. He spotted Bella against the base of the tree. She was tied to a tree, her fur bristled, her eyes fierce. In front of her were 3 wolves, but she wasn't showing fear. She was protecting her puppies. Jacob's grip tightened on his rifle. He knew he had to act fast. The wolves were closing in. He raised his rifle and aimed into the darkness. A single shot rang out, echoing through the forest and momentarily silencing the wolves, giving Jacob the precious seconds he needed. He moved swiftly, positioning himself between Bella and the advancing wolves. Zoltan growled and stood firm by Jacob's side. He fired another shot, this time aiming closer to the wolves. Bella didn't hesitate. She moved closer to Jacob, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew they were not safe yet. He fired again, aiming to drive the wolves further back. Each shot brought them a bit more time, but he knew he couldn't keep this up forever. Jacob quickly assessed their options. They couldn't stay here. They needed to move immediately. He knelt down, untied Bella, and scooped up the puppies. He slapped his thigh to get Bella and Zoltan to follow. With Bella limping alongside and the puppies carried carefully in Jacob's arms, they began to retreat toward his cabin. Every step was a race against time. The wolves weren't giving up. Jacob's mind was focused on one goal, getting Bella and her puppies to safety before it was too late. The night was far from over, and the danger was still very real. Then he saw the first of the wolves, and his heart sank. These were not the typical forest wolves he was used to. It was the notorious Shadow Pack, a group of wolves known throughout the region for their aggression and unusually large size. They were feared by both animals and humans alike. Their territory spanned vast stretches of the forest. Encountering them was rare but always dangerous. Zoltan growled deeply, his body tense and ready to defend. Jacob knew that confronting the shadow pack would be a fight for survival. He took a deep breath and fired a shot into the air. The pack paused but didn't retreat. Instead, they spread out, encircling them. Bella barked and snapped at any wolf that dared to come too close, her eyes wild with fear. She darted around frantically, trying to keep the wolves at bay while ensuring her puppies stayed hidden behind her. Despite her exhaustion and injuries, she fought with every ounce of strength she had left. Jacob realized that his usual tactics wouldn't work against this pack. He needed a new plan and fast. He glanced at Zoltan, who was poised to attack, and whispered, "Stay close, boy. We've got to outsmart them." The alpha wolf was a massive creature with jet black fur and piercing yellow eyes. He stepped forward, his presence exuding dominance, and the other wolves followed his lead. He snarled at Jacob and bared his teeth, making it clear that this was their territory and they would not back down easily. Jacob aimed his rifle directly at the alpha and fired a warning shot that grazed the ground near the wolf's paws. The alpha flinched but didn't retreat. Instead, he howled, a chilling sound that echoed through the trees and sent shivers down Jacob's spine. The rest of the pack responded with their own howls, creating a symphony of menace. Bella continued her desperate attempts to protect her puppies. Her bravery was incredible, but Jacob could see she was tiring. He had to act quickly before she or the puppies got hurt. Suddenly, the pack lunged as one. Jacob fired again, this time hitting one of the wolves squarely in the shoulder. The wolf yelped and fell back, but the others pressed on, undeterred. Zoltan leaped forward with bared teeth. He clashed with a wolf that had broken through Bella's defenses. The two animals rolled on the ground, snarling and biting. Jacob knew he couldn't hold them off for long. He had to create a diversion. He grabbed a nearby branch and set it ablaze with his lighter. The sudden flare of light and heat startled the wolves. They hesitated, giving Jacob a precious moment to act. He threw the burning branch into the underbrush to cause a small fire. The smoke and flames diverted the wolves' attention just long enough. Despite her exhaustion, Bella mustered the strength to move. She limped alongside Jacob as they headed for the cabin again. They moved as quickly as they could. The wolves were distracted by the fire, but it wouldn't be for long. Jacob knew they had to reach safety before the pack regrouped. His mind raced with plans and contingencies. The next few hours would be crucial for their survival. The fight was far from over. The wolves' howls echoed ominously again, growing louder with each step. Jacob knew they were running out of time. They reached a rocky outcrop, and he quickly assessed the situation. The high ground provided a slight advantage, but the wolves were still closing in. Jacob knew they couldn't keep fighting the wolves off indefinitely. He needed to create another diversion or find a way to scare them off permanently. He remembered the old hunters' tales about wolves fearing loud, sudden noises and bright lights. Jacob rummaged through his backpack and found a small flare gun. With trembling hands, he loaded the flare gun and aimed it into the air. When he fired, the sky lit up with a bright, blazing light. The wolves hesitated, their eyes reflecting the sudden burst of illumination. Jacob fired another flare, this time aiming closer to the ground. The light and noise startled the wolves, and they retreated again. As they hurried through the forest, the howls grew fainter, but Jacob didn't let his guard down. He kept firing the flare gun periodically to ensure the wolves stayed at bay. Finally, they reached a small clearing near a stream. Jacob decided it was safe enough to rest for a moment. He set the puppies down gently, and Bella collapsed beside them. Zoltan patrolled the perimeter to ensure there were no immediate threats. The night was far from over, but Jacob, Bella, and Zoltan were determined to survive. The wolves were close again. When they appeared, Zoltan threw himself into the fray. He targeted the nearest wolf, his attack momentarily shifting the balance of power. Jacob fired another shot. Zoltan fought with the strength and agility of a seasoned warrior. He managed to drive back 2 of the wolves. His relentless aggression forced them to rethink their strategy. Jacob felt a surge of hope. Zoltan's unexpected bravery had given them a fighting chance. He continued to fire his rifle, each shot calculated to keep the wolves from regrouping. Zoltan's presence turned out to be a game changer. Their growls turned to uncertain whines, and their formation broke as they tried to avoid Zoltan's relentless attacks. Jacob fired another shot. The wolves were now disoriented. Finally, they began to retreat. The alpha let out a final frustrated howl before turning and disappearing into the shadows. Bella limped over and nuzzled Zoltan. They weren't out of the woods yet, but for now, they had a moment of respite. Catch you in the next video.